Welcome to Shelly's Cuisine. Today, we are making this macaroni and cheese recipe that everyone is waiting for. It's gonna come just in time for Thanksgiving. So it's a favorite of my family and friends when they come over. And if I don't make it, where's the macaroni and cheese? Well, I didn't make it, but I'm gonna show you how to make it in your own home. So there are some different twists here, but first I wanna talk about the cheese. I would like you to buy cheese that you have to grate or shred yourself. Try not to buy the cheese that's shredded already. I'm using Cracker Barrel, I'm using extra sharp cheddar, and I'm using sharp cheddar. So I'm using two different types of cheese. Later, I'm going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese, because I like pepper jack cheese. Sometimes I throw in mozzarella, but I'm not going to do that this time. So when you make your macaroni and cheese, you know, you want different types of cheese. Please try not to use Velveeta. That's not the type of cheese we will be using in this baked macaroni and cheese. So I just wanted to let you know, shredding the cheese is a pain. You can use a grater and shred it, or you can use your food processor. Food processor has a shredder, and therefore you would be able to shred your cheese easy, quick, and that's something that could be done a day ahead. You can also make this sauce a day ahead if you want, or earlier, and then when you're ready to make the macaroni and cheese, it's already done. Okay? So, I'm going to use the food processor. So, I'm not going to use any butter because I'm going to make it different. So my first twist, I am going to use cottage cheese to get my base thick. That's the liquid base that we need to make this macaroni and cheese. And I love Breakstone, so I'm going to use 2% Breakstone. We need 8 ounces. So this is a 16 ounce, and so I'm only going to use half because I need 1 cup, which is 8 ounces. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add cayenne pepper. Okay, so you need about 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, not a lot. You're doing this for the flavor, okay? And you need about 1 teaspoon of mustard. So, okay, and we are going to blend this, and we're gonna blend it so that it becomes very smooth. So, once we blend it so that it's very smooth, we're gonna use this to make our sauce. I just want to show you, I stopped it for a minute, and I only did it about 30 seconds. We need to do it for about 1.5 minutes to maybe 2 minutes. We need the cottage cheese to really be smooth. So I just want to let you know, this is not the way you stop your sauce. You have to keep going. Okay, that's been a total of about 2 minutes, and I want to show you the consistency that I want you to have. So, this consistency is creamy. We don't see any big lumps, and that's what we want. Okay? So this is ready, our base. Also, if you don't have a food processor, no problem. Use a hand mixer. Okay? This is a recipe that can be doubled. The recipe we're making is going to give us a 2-quart dish, but everybody's going to love it, so you might as well double it. So, but you have to be careful. Okay. All right. And so you really want it kind of smooth because this is replacing your butter, which makes it healthier. But you won't know when you taste this that there was no butter in it. Okay, so we're going to go on the stove and make the sauce that we're going to need to put this macaroni and cheese together. And we're going to boil our macaroni and take it from there. Okay, we're ready to make our sauce. In the meantime, we have our water boiling for the macaroni. I've already salted the water. Don't forget to salt the water. Otherwise, you're going to lose some of the taste in your macaroni and cheese. And so I need 8 ounces of macaroni and cheese. This box is 16 ounces, so I'm going to use about half. Okay? So I'll just pour that in. Sometimes you put a dash of olive oil. in the pasta just so it won't stick. And we're gonna go ahead and start to make our sauce. So we put a little bit of oil, half a teaspoon, really small, okay? And we will use 1/4 cup of onion. Yes, the onion is important. It's one of the twists to put onion in the sauce. So we're just gonna sweat that a little bit. We also need to put mustard, 2 tablespoons of mustard. That is one of the twists in the macaroni and cheese that really gets this to work. And normally I use Grey Poupon, but I don't have any right now. So that's our mustard. And we're gonna need our sauce to be thick. So we are going to use 3 tablespoons of flour, white flour. So as we put the flour in, we're gonna stir that very quickly, and it's gonna look lumpy, okay? That's okay, personally. So we have that. We're gonna use 2 cups of milk. So for right now, I'm only gonna use 1 cup, and that's because I wanna blend out these lumps, okay? You're still gonna have some lumps because it's onion, but I just don't want any big clumps. So now that I have this, I am going to put the other cup of milk. So 2 cups of milk. By the way, another twist, this milk is 2%. That's another way you cut down on that macaroni and cheese. You could use whole milk if you like, no problem. So this is where our cottage cheese comes in, because now we add this to the mix. That's gonna help us to get our sauce thick. Okay, and so you try to blend this out. I'm going to turn up the fire just a little bit to medium. This is not something you want to cook on high heat. Okay? And as you can see, the sauce is getting a little bit thicker. And now it's time to hook it up a little bit. So, sea salt. Be very careful on the salt that you put, because the cheese might be salty. So you got to be careful. You know I love my black pepper. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt. It's at this time that I'm going to taste it and see if it has enough mustard, enough onion, enough salt. So I'm expecting a tang when I taste this, because that's what's really going to make the sauce really taste great. Absolutely perfect. That's going to be great. Okay, so the way this works, you wait for this sauce to start to bubble up, and then we're going to add the cheese, but not before the sauce starts to bubble. Okay, so as you can see, our sauce is getting thick, and that's what we want. We want it to be thick, and it's beginning to bubble. So just want to add some dried herbs. You can use Italian herbs de Provence, but this really gives it a great flavor and nice and thick. So it's getting thick. It's now time, because we're boiling, to add my cheese. So I'm gonna add my cheese. Okay. So as I add my cheese, it gets thicker. And by the way, I have a little bit more flour left, just in case it's not thick enough and I have to thicken it a little bit. Again, we need to lower the heat, make sure it's like medium high, and we're getting nice and thick. I'm also that was 2 cups of cheese. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of pepper jack just to mix things up. So again, some people use 3 different cheeses. It's okay. Try not to put too much cheese in your sauce, okay? If your sauce is too watery, it's not really going to come out good. So you want to get the right consistency of the sauce. So that is getting nice and thick. We just need it a little bit thicker. And so we'll probably leave it for maybe a minute. But at this point, we need to stir it because we don't want it to get stuck to the bottom of the pan. And again, if this was very watery, this would be when I would add some more flour. I would not add all the extra flour, and I would use a whisk to smooth that flour out. But we don't really need it. We're nice and thick the way we are. And the good part about this, you can make this a day ahead. If you can actually freeze it. You can make it a week ahead. Freeze it, and when you're ready, you put it in the microwave just so it could defrost. Then you put it back on the stove, heat it up, and go ahead and make your macaroni and cheese. So again, this is a single batch. If you were to double it, try to use a deeper pot. And I'm just going to let that simmer probably another, to have it to boil. And then we're going to be finished with the sauce. Okay, our sauce is ready. Do you see the thickness? That's what we need. And the little lumps and bumps are the onions, the herbs, and that's fine. All the cheese needs to be melted. If your consistency is not nice and thick like this, then you put a little bit of flour, and as you add the flour, you whisk so that you don't get lumps in your sauce. Okay, so even though it should take 3 tablespoons of flour to help you thicken the sauce, there's a possibility you could need more. All right, and now we're gonna mix that macaroni and cheese together. Okay, we're at the end of putting this macaroni and cheese together. So you wanna have a 2-quart dish, Pyrex. You wanna lightly spray with spray oil. Don't forget to spray with the spray oil, because if you don't, your macaroni and cheese could stick to the side. So we have our macaroni boiled, and what we're going to do, we are going to add the sauce. I don't pour all of my sauce at one time, because if you put too much sauce in the macaroni, it's not going to make correctly. So sometimes when you make the batch, you don't use all the sauce, and you can save that for a mini macaroni and cheese later. So we're going to see. So the point is, we want to saturate all of the macaroni with the sauce. So it needs to look wet. Basically, it needs to look saturated. And for those people who really like cheese, I'm going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese in here, mixed in, so that when it bakes, you have extra cheese. You don't have to, but you can if you want. So I need more sauce. So I basically use most of my sauce. And you want to incorporate well. And it's important, again, I keep harping on the quality of the cheese. That's a big part of the macaroni and cheese tasting good. And there are artisan cheeses as well that you can use. So for simplicity, I use Cracker Barrel, but you can use some of those other cheeses. Okay, so we're well saturated, and you can see it's kind of sticking together. And I'm going to put a little bit more, because I do have some left. I know it looks good. Okay. Then we are going to put this macaroni into our dish, nice and neatly. Nobody wants to see the macaroni and cheese in a dish all over the place, it's good to have the food look good. So, again, there are different ways to make macaroni and cheese. This is Shelly's Cuisine's twist on how to make the macaroni and cheese. We're going to spread that out. Try to be neat. Okay. Sometimes I like to use a glass dish because you can see when it's finished. So make sure you got your macaroni in all the corners. Okay. This is where we add the cheese. This is important. People put the breadcrumbs first and then put the cheese on the top. No, no, no. If you do that, when you cut your macaroni and cheese, the whole top is just going to fall apart or break into one. You put your cheese first. And you just make sure that you've got your cheese evenly spread in all the corners. Okay. And this was supposed to be half a cup of cheese, but I think it's 3/4 cup. So I need to put some more. So it depends on how you shred it. Sometimes you shred it, and if you notice this batch, it's longer, so you need less. So about 3/4 cup of cheese on the top. You want to try not to leave any spaces. I mean, you're not going to layer it with too much cheese now. And this is why it's important that you use good cheese, because when you bake this, if you use a cheese that's not that great, your macaroni and cheese is going to be oily. All right. So pretty much there we are. We've got our cheese in. And now for the final twist, breadcrumbs. By the way, I want you to buy seasoned breadcrumbs, because if you just buy the plain breadcrumbs, it's not going to taste as good and it won't taste like mine. So I only buy Progresso. Yes, I am name brand loyal. So you're going to sprinkle the breadcrumbs. You need about half a cup of breadcrumbs. I know I have more than half a cup here, but you know, I just wanted to make sure that I would have enough. So, and you don't want to go crazy with the breadcrumbs. You do want the breadcrumbs to go on, but you want to do your breadcrumbs lightly. You want to get in the corners. Okay, so this is our macaroni and cheese ready to be baked. We are going to bake this at 375 for 45 minutes. It could be up to an hour. We'll have to check it. Again, different ovens vary. And we're ready to put this in the oven. Our macaroni and cheese is done. It's ready for me to taste. Okay. Wow. That is beautiful. I am cutting it hot. I couldn't wait for it to properly cool. Absolutely delicious. Thank you for making macaroni and cheese with us today. Tune in next week to find out what we will twist